What are common examples of runtime errors in programming? Have you ever been in the middle of coding and suddenly faced an unexpected crash? That's where runtime errors come into play. These errors happen when a program is running, even after it has passed all the syntax checks. Let's break down some common examples of these runtime errors that can trip up even seasoned programmers. First up is the null pointer exception. This occurs when a program tries to use an object reference that has not been initialized or is set to null. Imagine trying to call a method on a null object. That's a surefire way to hit this error. It's particularly common in programming languages like Java. Next, we have the arithmetic exception. This error typically pops up when you perform invalid arithmetic operations, such as dividing by 0. If you attempt to divide an integer by 0, your program will terminate unexpectedly. Another frequent issue is the array index out of bounds exception. This happens when you try to access an array element using an index that is outside the valid range. For example, if you try to access an index that is less than 0 or greater than the highest index, you will encounter this error. Then there is the class cast exception. This occurs when the program attempts to cast an object to a subclass that it does not belong to. This can lead to a failure at runtime, so be cautious with your object types. The negative array size exception is another one to watch out for. This happens when you try to initialize an array with a negative size, which is not allowed. You might also run into an array store exception. This occurs when you try to store an element of the wrong type into an array of objects. Another common error is the unsupported operation exception. This is thrown when you attempt to perform an operation that is not supported by the object, such as trying to modify an unmodifiable collection. The no such element exception can be frustrating as well. This happens when you try to access elements beyond the available data, like calling next on an empty iterator. The concurrent modification exception is another runtime error that occurs when you modify a collection while iterating over it in a way that is not permitted. Lastly, we have the segmentation fault, often seen in lower-level languages like C or C++. This error occurs when the program tries to access memory that it is not allowed to, such as dereferencing null or uninitialized pointers. In addition to these, you may encounter type errors, which occur when performing operations on incompatible data types. For example, subtracting strings or converting invalid strings to numbers can lead to this error. Another one to be aware of is the non-zero exit code error. This happens when a program exits with an error code due to exceptions like array index errors or invalid input handling. To effectively debug and fix these runtime errors, it is important to validate inputs to prevent invalid operations. Always check for null references before accessing object methods or properties. Using exception handling constructs, such as try-catch blocks, can help manage unexpected errors gracefully. Testing edge cases, like empty collections and boundary indices, is also vital. Lastly, utilize debugging tools to trace where errors originate and inspect variable states during execution. By understanding these common runtime errors and their causes, you can diagnose problems quickly and write more robust code. This knowledge will help you anticipate potential failures and implement the necessary checks to keep your programs running smoothly.